Whenever you hear about secret caves, military, somewhere where it's very cold and maybe a Cold War frenzy going on, you might want to think of a James Bond film. But that seems to not be the case, as the U.S. military is prepping for a doomsday possibility with near peers for a possible World War III. It seems like, as we're seeing a likelihood or an increased chance of inkling of suspicion that there could be a near peer adversary in the next several years coming up, and this is their preparation. And here Navy Times says Navy sets up mobile hospital with 150 beds in Norwegian caves. It says the U.S. Navy now has an expeditionary medical facility in Norwegian caves. The mobile hospital, which can function in the caves or head to other theaters, aims to cultivate joint processes and procedures with NATO allies in the region, according to the Navy. Navy Forces Europe, Africa, and 6th Fleet Expeditionary Medical Support Command spearheaded the initiative and delivered the mobile hospital to Norway, Bogan Bay, September 25th. The Navy said October 25th. Not exactly sure if we should be disclosing that we're having these assets there, but there's other things we've probably said that is probably too much information to, but I'm assuming this is not the only thing. We're just talking medical supplies. We'd be talking about ammunition, etc., so many other things, and we're talking about basic supply lines and chain, etc. If you guys are liking this type of content where it's pretty much daily with the new setup, throw a like on this, and I hope I earned your sub today, covering some important news topics that you feel are important and I feel are important, and we can kind of learn about it and have a great discussion. They continue to say, in this era of great power competition, distributing our capabilities around the globe drives down risk. Rear Admiral Michael Curran, Director of Readiness and Logistics for U.S. Naval Forces Europe, Africa, said in a Navy news release. He then goes on to say, the movement of an expeditionary hospital to Norway is a perfect example of how U.S. and allied forces provide mutual support in developing a resilient medical and logistic network. The expeditionary medical facility is outfitted with 20 intensive care unit beds, 130 acute ward beds, along with 4 operating rooms and an emergency room. It also includes a laboratory and can administer X-ray and CT scans. The mobile hospital can take on as many as 30 hospital admissions and 36 surgical cases a day. Finally, he says expeditionary medical facilities are deployable on a short notice and contain many capabilities of a modern hospital, said Lieutenant Commander Michael Lucas, NEMSCOM's Director of Operations, in a news release. A benefit of the expeditionary medical force is its self-sufficiency and sustainability due to the variety of civil engineering support equipment present in the caves. The caves provided an excellent storage solution for quick stow and EMF deployment. The Norwegian military has been extremely cooperative and professional in the support of our mission. Until 2003, the U.S. Navy based 2 fleet hospitals, and each supplied with 500 beds out of Norway. When Operation Iraqi Freedom began, they were sent to Kuwait and Rhoda, Spain, as support before returning to the U.S. for resupply and repairs. Yes, it does look like this is something that we could say is a preparation for a near-peer adversary. We're usually not too scared to talk about the medical stuff. It's not talking about weaponry, etc., that would give away a lot of information. But when it comes to supply in general, whether it's food, it's medical supplies, it's ammunition, etc., you have to expect that we are trying to make sure there's as much as the forefront, because you do not want those supply chains to be cut off at all. And it's also known that there are the rapid ability to deploy medical units using like different AMOL cans, which are in allowance lists of medical supplies that you can literally pick up and go deploy if you really had to. They are talking about this on land. A lot of you are like scratching your heads right now saying, Nicky, we're worried about South China Sea. We're worried about the next naval ship battle, which is a very real concern. There have been so many ideas as to how we could combat this, because if you look at the per capita death, correct, during World War II, with how many ships were sunk, you're like, could we have saved some of those people? Does that mean that we have better training on the ships for medical stuff? Does that mean that we have like a floating ambulance like the USNS Mercy or USNS Comfort? But those are still only 2 limited ships that are out there to kind of be in this active wartime, and they're not probably going to be used on the front line. And what you're seeing as well is the collaboration between various countries and allies that we have out there. We're seeing different aircraft landing on other countries' aircraft. We're seeing ways that we can better embed and incorporate, and this is just one example of that. I also want to give a huge credit here, because Johnny Harris, who was over at Vox, did a series called Borders, but also has gone on to his own thing talking about military bases, specifically the U.S., and trying to audit where all of them are at. And realistically, the military was unable to determine that through a Rand Corporation study that was done, not really understanding all of the assets. So I have to say this might be just one chip in the bucket, as I'm sure there are many others and a lot that we probably don't know, obviously for national security purposes, etc. But I just want to say it has been looked into. And I want to give kudos because this is forward thinking. A lot of people think doom and gloom. No one is ever prepared for the next peer-to-peer adversary, but this looks to be forward thinking that people are considering the worst case scenario and shows movement and action to get closer to be a better fighting force. This is good because medical injuries, the sooner you treat them, the more people you save, the more people you get back into the fight to do this and pull those triggers that are going to be able to hurt bad guys most likely. On top of that, it should be known that a lot of times that your peer adversary out there can be the thing that is dangerous, but it's also very well known and documented that medical conditions, diseases, etc. can actually be a detriment to a fighting force very easily, just as much so as our adversaries that are out there, which is why medical does have a place of importance. I also want to say we've learned a lot from Iraq, Afghanistan, all these other places where we've learned we had a golden hour. If we were able to get people to resources to have their lives saved, we'd have a higher chance of saving more people. And the closer you are to those people that are hurt, the better off you can have at an option of saving their lives. So realistically, we've improved our medicine, we've learned from our mistakes, and it looks like we are actually trying to make this a staple of moving forward, and that's why I want to appreciate this. But it's also why I want to reflect a question off of you guys that are out there. What are some of the adjustments or things that we could do as a military fighting force for the United States that you think would make it a better prepared peer-to-peer adversary competition to ensure that we maintain battlefield leverage and superior fighting power? Because I think that I'm obviously thinking from this small scope of a medical aspect, but what are you guys thinking in regards to ships, aircraft, bases, supply, whatever you can think of, because I know you guys have a lot of other experiences out there that I think might be vital to this. But as always, if you guys do like what we do on this channel, you can always support over at patreon.com for special perks and benefits. On top of that, you can also support over at the YouTube join button below this video as well for special perks and benefits here on YouTube. As always, if you guys have questions about this or anything else, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.